Hello and welcome everyone. I'm the Brutal Commander and I am here today with Il from Sheffield. How are you all doing, fellas?
Good. We're all good, thank you. What?
Did I say your band name correctly?
No.
It's IL.
No one gets it right.
There's no right or wrong way to say it.
We say it's pronounced Isle, like Isle of Man or something like just Isle.
Okay, because between me and my colleagues, it was either IL or ill. That was what we had.
We just tend to go with whatever now.
We got it wrong in the Battle to the Masses final.
Yeah,
we still knew it was us, so
it's fine. It's fine.
Isle. Okay, well I'll remember that. It's great to have everyone there. Thank you for taking some time to have this interview. It's awesome. Can we just go around the table and just introduce ourselves? I'll start. I'm the Brutal Commander and I'll be interviewing you today.
Nice. I'm Jesse. I'm the lead vocalist.
I'm James. I play drums.
I'm Rob. Rhythm guitar and backing vocals.
I'm Nat, bass and also vocals. And there's normally a Jacob here, who plays lead guitar.
Jacob.
But he's a win.
And he's not allowed a vocal mic.
Yeah, he's not allowed a mic. We've banned him that.
Nice. So let's kick off this interview. I mean, that was a great introduction, so thank you very much for that. Can we just kick straight off into it? For those that aren't familiar with you, how would you describe your sound?
A bit of a mix, really, of just like, because we're all into different things. So, I mean, me and Nathaniel have known each other the longest, and like, you know, we've been in previous bands before. We were in a hip hop band together a long time ago. I mean, there's no hip hop in what we do, but I don't know. I mean, like,
it's prog. Yeah, it's progressive metal, but on the kind of post metal side of things.
Yeah.
And what's that word that you've
a genre Thall we normally get like genre wise get kind of like put towards.
But no one's heard of that.
But no one's heard of that genre, so it's fine.
It just makes it a little bit cooler, to be honest.
Yeah, because we look like a bunch of cool guys.
Definitely. What inspired that fusion of sort of like that post shoegaze and that blackened extreme side? You know.
Well, when we first started as a group, we weren't this genre at all. It originally started with just myself and Nathaniel. We had both recently left bands that we were in at the time. And we used to help each other set up an open mic night at the pub he worked at. So I decided, hey, look, we've got some spare time. Do you just want to jam out sometime? And we started off almost like a Primus influenced kind of project.
Cool.
Just like chunky, funk,
yeah,
weird, proggy.
I was the drummer and vocalist, and he was the bassist and vocalist at the time. And then I actually auditioned for his previous band. Didn't get it, which is fine. Which is fine. But he actually, not long after that, left that band and actually joined in and kicked me off the drums.
So, because in the previous band, funnily enough, I actually had him as the vote of who to sing for that band, but he didn't get it. And then one day I was in the pub and these two guys were there, and they were talking about like some project that got going. And I said to him, he should not play drums and sing instead. You shit at drums. I didn't say that exactly, but
I did.
But I just thought because he had such a raw, I would say like a raw undiscovered talent. Like he hadn't actually like delved into doing vocals, but I could see that he would be really good if he stuck at it. And then I convinced him to get on vocals and I played drums. And then we had Dan, didn't we, for quite a while?
Yeah, we had a different guitarist for a while who really, still to this day, helped us discover our sound.
Massive props to that.
Still massive props to him. He is no longer part of this project, but we're all still friends when we all still talk to him. But we ended up doing our separate ways, which is when we actually ended up getting our two guitarists to cover him, which one is here, which is Rob, who was with our other guitarist, are in another project with each other.
Yeah,
it's very ancestral.
So whilst the original line was going with Dan on guitar, Jesse was booked to go on holiday or honeymoon or something.
Yeah.
And they asked me to come in and cover him on vocals for a gig. So I started coming to practices and sort of trying to learn his vocal style, which isn't possible, but, you know, compliment free there, mate. Like,
they don't know this. They don't know that. They play so bad.
And then the talks started to happen about, like, I think we're already happening about a second guitarist to thicken up the sound. And then one thing led to another. Dan left, and then they needed 2 guitarists, so they asked Jacob, and me and Jacob ended up joining at the same time. So I was already sort of familiar with the music from having done a gig with them and practicing for the live stuff.
And
That was it really. I was just saying how me and Jacob joined, because obviously I came down before on guitar to do vocals, and again, like you say, a bit incestuous. It's sort of like,
yeah, like we all have like all of us have an eclectic like music that we like, but we also have a lot of different music that we like. So I think all of that's just come together to create our sound. I imagine like most bands, really. But
One of the things that we often find with us is someone will like go away for like a little bit and they'll be listening to something like that's nothing to do with the genre of band we're in. Because I don't know if you're the same, but being in a really, really heavy band, more often than not, when you've spent like a day or two around it, you don't really listen to that in your spare time. You kind of like detox yourself away from it. And a lot of the influences from outside genres seep into how we do a lot of the stuff in this band, but we kind of like put our own little flavoring on it, which is separating our sound to everyone else's.
Yeah, I mean, like drumming wise, I take loads of influences from all sorts, like even like African beats and stuff like that. I don't just listen to metal drummers. I listen to all sorts, and I think every one of us can say the same about our own instrument, is that we don't just take from, you know, people who play the same thing as us in metal bands, like, you know, and that all comes in. So.
Yeah. And you're from Sheffield. That's got like a particularly deep musical history. So has the city or its scene introduced sort of like an influence on your sound in any way?
I mean, in terms of like, because the music scene is very diverse in Sheffield. Like you can have gigs with very odd lineups where you do have like metal bands alongside sort of like jazz, hip hop alongside, you know, all sorts of other things. So I think no one's surprised by hearing odd things together and it just kind of working. So like perhaps everyone's a bit more open to it here. But there is quite a strong sort of like post rock and like you know, slightly progressive, like heavy scene here. Like there's a lot of bands that are sort of, you know, edging more out of traditional metal and more into like, you know, more progressive, weird post rocky.
There's a lot of experimental music around in Sheffield. A lot.
I think as well, because Sheffield is quite well known for having, I don't know if it's the most, but like one of the most amount of students staying on in the city when they finish the. So you get like a really, really like big flavour of like different types of music. And you know, like I say, not just metal, there's all sorts from like, you know, indie stuff, trance stuff, like there's loads of things that you can take stuff from. So I mean me, I can't speak for everyone else, but I mean like me personally, influence wise from Sheffield, I probably have, but like subconsciously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think
there's a lot of stuff I might not be into, but I'll kind of hear all over the place, and you know.
I mean, Sheffield sounds like quite an exciting city. Is there like a specific sort of hub for the metalheads, or is there quite a few choices?
For gigs wise, one of the main ones is a club called Corporation, which work very closely with a group called Heel Turn Productions, which put on like a lot of the metal gigs in Sheffield, and other gigs outside of metal as well. Shout out to Heel Turn Productions as well, because without them, we wouldn't have been able to play at Bloodstock in last year, because they also do Metal to the Masses and everything like that. In fact, our first ever gig was 5-6 years ago now, with Heel Turn doing Metal to the Masses.
Oh wow!
Yeah, which James signed us up for.
Which he signed us up for.
We'd had one practice as a full band. Like James had about 3 practices with us, and then we brought this the guitarist Dan in. We'd had 1 practice quite well, but it was basically just a jam. We had no finished written songs or anything. And then James came in the next week and was like, "Signed us up for Metal to the Masses." I was like, "Oh." When's that? He's like, January. Bearing in mind, this was like mid-November. And it was just like, James, what are you doing? We don't have any songs. The gig, the first competition gig is in like 2 months.
But then we got to the final.
Yeah. We actually managed to get all the way to the finals. And on our first ever gig as a band was at Metal to the Masses. And one of our most popular songs at that time we finished writing on the taxi to the venue.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then for the second round, because we didn't just want to play the same ones, we wrote a track in about 5 minutes in the studio that was technically longer than that, and then put it live that night.
But yeah, we'll just sit right. Do this for this amount of time. Do this for this amount of time. Yeah, we'll just remember that. If you just watch each other.
We totally blagged it.
We blagged it all the way to the final.
But I think the thing is, like, because as we were saying before, like me and Nat go really far back musically. I mean, we've been playing together for like more than 10 years in different bands.
I ran down monks for a long time,
yeah.
so I'm used to just like
Exactly.
playing out on my ass and just being like, fine.
I used to go to a lot of his jam nights as well as being in a band with him. So I mean, coming up with something on the spot with someone, you know, when you know someone really well and you just gel with them, so you do just tend to come out with stuff that's, you know, reasonable.
It's really nice to hear that Metal to the Masses was such a key part of your progress, really, because I think it emanates with me so much listening to those stories. I mean, you know, my band, our first ever gig was the Metal to the Masses London, and you know, we were completely unprepared and inexperienced, but you know, they gave us such an amazing stage to play on, and I really have a lot of respect for that initiative. So it's
It
nice
pushes
to
you,
hear that.
doesn't it? You know, I mean, to say like we were saying, we had no songs really to speak of, and I think it just pushes you. And it's, I mean, we win like the first Metal to the Masses. We didn't think, oh, we're going to play to win. Do you know what I mean? It was like
we just entered for a gig.
Yeah, it was just like show's a show, you know.
Yes,
but there was still that kind of bit. Could we? Do you know what I mean? Like in the back of your head. So it just kind of pushes you to kind of up your game a bit and
It
fighting.
really does. It almost, it's like a healthy way of like forcing growth in your project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like thinking, you know, oh, we're probably not going to win it, I think is important, because I think the moment you start going, yeah, we're going to win it, like.
I think what we mainly
That's
did, we still do this now, even with the gigs that we're doing now, because we're going on tour soon. The album's coming out soon, and even then, when we're going to other cities, talking to bands and stuff like that, we're not. We are going there to, like, you know, hopefully increase the fan base, entertain people. But one main thing we always tell each other is, remember, other than the top priority is performing, the very one just below that we're on equal par is networking. Make friends with other bands, make friends with promoters, make friends with bar staff. That's the thing. Like, entertain and network. They're the two main things.
But not have fun.
100%.
But not have fun. Don't have fun.
That's right at the bottom.
That's right at the bottom.
If you wanted to have fun, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I have to echo that again. That the networking is super important as an underground band, and that is that's a great thing about Metal to the Masses as well. It's giving you that opportunity to network with bands, and then all of a sudden you've got friends in the scene, and just go from there.
Well, if you look after, you know, all the other bands, you know, and you treat it as in like a mutual exchange, you know, like you look after them, they look after you, then you have a good show. Like, there's nothing worse, I think, when, and it's rarely happened, to be honest, but when you get that one band that just doesn't really talk to anyone, they don't help anyone, they don't, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if you let it known that, like, you'll help out if they need it, then you'll get the same back, and you'll always end up with like a community of people that just want to help each other out and give each other a leg up, which I do think is quite important.
You can't afford to be aloof until somebody gives a shit.
Exactly.
No, you can't. You can't afford it. Like, we've made friends with, like, obviously can't name them all, but we've made friends with some great bands, like bands like No or Godeth. We've performed with a few times. They were amazing. Pallid Mask was another fantastic one. Your nephews.
Yeah.
The Echoes Evolve are fantastic.
Echoes Evolve are really, really
What
good.
about other band as well?
All the other bands. How long have we got?
All the time in the world.
Yeah, I'm not that good. I barely remember my lyrics, so it's fine.
You do
No, my nephew's in a band called Echoes Evolve. My nephew is I can't think how many years younger than me he is now. It's quite a bit, but he's like 10 times better on drums than me. It's just like, oh, it's so frustrating. But his bands are always good. Yeah, Kalos is another one, isn't it?
Kalos is another great one.
Kalos are great. You should check them out.
That
They're a bit
band
like
as well, we've gigged with a few times.
Kalos remind me quite a lot of Animals.
Well,
Leaders, like
Oh, wow,
on that
okay.
sort.
Yeah, nice. I like that kind of stuff as well. I'm gonna have to check them out. All right, tell us about the Vessel tour.
Well, fun fact about the Vessel tour is it originally wasn't our tour.
Yeah.
It was a tour that we were going to be the main support on. The main support that's going to be with us throughout all of the tour except for the London one, which is the one that you're interviewing for, is obviously Dire Thorns instead are now supporting us. And originally it was their tour. However, their album wasn't going to be ready in time. And they knew we were recording an album as well. So they said, well, why don't you take over the tour and make it your tour, and we'll continue from there, which is literally how this, like, it's, if you're gonna be in a band, sort out tours. We were just very lucky that it just kind of like fell in our hands.
Easiest tour we've had.
Yeah.
And it plays into what I was saying before about like looking after bands. I mean, for them to offer that to us, I think was really,
they could have easily
really
cancelled it.
That was
But they
really,
didn't.
it was really gracious of them to say, "Hey, you guys have got an album coming up. Do you guys want to have it as your tour instead?" I thought that was really decent, to be honest.
They're a great band as well.
They are good.
Massive shout out to Dire Thorns.
Yeah, Dire Thorns are great.
Very good one.
What's the significance of the name Vessel?
Oh, fuck.
Well,
right. When it comes to the subjects of the songs that are on the album, each song kind of like looks at a different aspect of, like, you know, the human condition, and the how do I explain?
The body and the environment.
Yeah, the body,
reflections of each other.
Yeah, the planet in and of itself, referencing the planet as a vessel, but then the album cover, which we have already shown, if you look at it carefully on the front and on the back, the front looks like an eye vessel looking inside into the vessels of an eye, but then you turn it to the back where all, like, you know, the information is, you're inside the eye looking out through the vessels.
Okay. Pay attention to everyone.
So it's, well, I mean, not to brag, but it was me who did the artwork for it, and
cool.
He did the artwork for the first album as well.
So as Jesse was saying, I just had the idea of, like, you know, the front being outside looking in through an eye and looking at kind of like tendons and stuff like that, and then on the back, the inside looking out at kind of like a nuclear power plant and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of like to give the impression of multiple ways of looking at a dying vessel, basically.
It was your son's idea as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's partly my lad as well.
Yeah.
He came.
We're talking about the vessel and we were struggling for a bit of ideas, and he went, what about the vessels in the eye?
Yeah.
I was like, that's great!
Yeah, he did.
He's not getting paid for it, is he?
I'll give him some.
Like, I'll sit on the album.
I'll chuck some
At
pocket
the bottom.
money.
You get paid.
No one's getting paid, no one. Except for the sound guy who's recording us.
Brilliant. So this is going to be your first time playing in London, I believe.
Yes.
It is.
How does
It
it
is
feel?
indeed.
How does it feel to finally bring your music to the capital?
Great. Really good.
It does. It feels great. About time. Yeah, about time. No, I'm super looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the other cities as well. But getting into the capital means a lot. I have family over in London.
Okay.
Who will definitely not turn. It will definitely not be turning up. They live in an area of London. When you mention his name, everyone just goes, "Oh," and that's Lewisham. So, oh.
The potential.
I'm not from London, man. I'm not from Lewisham, sir. I am born bred Sheffield.
It's quite funny how we've been wanting to do a show in Manchester for ages, and we've not got round to doing one yet. And then we're actually doing one in London before Manchester, which is actually funny.
We also want to do one in Leeds as well. We've got one. I think our first gig after the tour is in Leeds, which is the weekend after the tour.
Yeah,
we're in Leeds.
We played in Leeds before, haven't we?
No, we've never played in Leeds.
I played not.
So we got Isle in London before GTA 6.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Do you notice any differences between audiences in different cities, and do you have any kind of expectation for the London crowd?
In the north, no. I would say, I mean, because the last band I was in, we used to gig at like Manchester, Coventry, and various other places. And I don't see that much of a difference other than just like people just really enjoying music. I think the thing is, though, is the gig crowd is very different from, like, say, the rock club crowd.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like the rock club crowd, a lot of them don't necessarily go to gigs, and you get a lot of people who listen to specific types of metal or whatever. But in the kind of gigging scene, everyone just kind of just loves music, in my experience. So I've not really seen that much of a difference. But I haven't played in London, so I don't know what it's like down there. I can only say from my experience of the Thall. I mean, you as well, Nat. I mean, you gigged about a lot as well. And you have to.
I've done 2 metal gigs in London before with an old band, and one of them was really good, and one of them was really terrible.
The gig,
Just the gig, the vibe, the sort of the terrible one. It was. I think it had been booked without anybody really having checked what the venue was or what it was like, because it was basically just like the side room in a pub, and it had like a tiled floor, and there were room for about 6 people, and we still didn't fill it to capacity.
Nice.
It was, one of those ones where it was just like, why did I get out of bed for this shit? But yeah. But then the other one was really good. I think it just depends where you end up. It was, yeah. It didn't feel like a great place to play.
Yeah, no, like you do have really good gigs, and then you have like really bad gigs. But I think the bad gigs are just as important as the really good gigs, because the really good gigs, everything went great, right? You can't be like, oh, this needs better, this needs better. It's the bad gigs that I find that it's way better to learn anything from. You can learn way more from a bad gig than you can a good gig. But not to say that in the moment, because we've had bad gigs and I've been like, no one talk to me. No one talk to me. I'm in a mood. No one talk to me. I was shit. And that's not necessarily
good ones.
Yeah, no, like that's not necessarily because of like bad audience or anything like that. It was generally just because of like just being on stage. It's the fucking yeah. Why don't you like this? No, it's just because I felt me or I myself have not done as good as I could have, as I have in previous performances, and it hits you a little bit. Like if for anyone who's in a band will know, if you perform really good one day and then you perform really bad the next day, you really kind of butter because it's like you can do better.
Yeah, we're our own worst critics, aren't we?
Can we omit the bit where we said fuck the audience when I come out next time? Like
Yeah.
No, I'd stand by that. I'll just keep saying it.
First psychology.
That's all the lyrics are. That's all the lyrics are.
T-shirt printing.
I'll get a T-shirt for the tour. It's the album on the back. Fuck the audience.
Have to isolate yourself.
I was going to start fights with everyone.
So you've got this Vessel tour happening, and that's in celebration or in the spirit of this new album, is it?
Yes.
Yep. So what sort of plans have you got beyond the tour?
We've got some gigs set up for after the tour. We announced it a while back. We're going to be doing another announcement soonish about it with a band called 10 Plagues. We're going to be doing that with. We do have another one. We've not got the full details yet, but we've got another one as well in Leeds in a venue called the Fenton. And then after that, we are performing at the final for Metal to the Masses in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Alongside it is. It has been announced who's headlining the main. Yeah. Right. The main headline of that show is Hecate Enthroned, black metal band.
Awesome.
The headline of that.
You heard it here first.
We already know the lead singer of Hecate because he works a lot in Sheffield and he lives in Sheffield,
great.
so we all know him anyway as well.
Wow, that's gonna I wish I could be at that one. Actually, maybe I'll just go to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, come to this one. Yeah. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be
Have you got the date?
It's gonna be massive.
Do you remember the date of it?
24th of May.
24th of May. Okay.
He's the date guy.
He also works at the
He also works at the
Yeah, I do sound at the venue, so I kind of know when the dates are.
And that's in Leeds, is it?
I used to be a lampy there.
And I hung out there so much that they thought I worked there, but I didn't. I was just flagging for entry.
You could get in without.
And I used to treat it.
That's true.
It's all I did.
Whoever couldn't get in, they were going through checks on the door. You just waltzed in straight past them.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a trustworthy dude, right?
I think I've been there enough times over the years that they're just like, ah,
Yeah, he works it, right? Surely.
if he was going to nick stuff, he'd have done it by now. I'm just lulling them into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Bloodstock security. Don't argue that.
Yeah, but stop security.
That wasn't Bloodstock security. They were out. Like they were not in.
All right.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah. Don't know if we can mention that.
Yeah, no, we'll leave that.
Yeah, we'll leave that for another time.
For another
Get on great
Next
Bloodstock security.
interview.
Yeah. We've had it back.
If anyone wants to hear the tales of Nat
Oh,
and Bloodstock security, come to our gig.
That's not the main story of Bloodstock.
No, it's a story
We can't
between.
talk about that either.
It's just a story between. It's just a story of a man and a dog. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come
But
to
yeah,
the gig and
basically,
find
once
out,
we've got
everyone.
Yeah. It might get violent. Good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it's violence, not a good way.
I mean, you're into metal.
You want to punch someone in the pit, right?
But yeah, the eventual. I think the current mid goal is like once we've got this sort of tour under our belts and the second album out, and a couple more sort of nice sort of bigger out of town shows. And basically, I just keep bugging Arc Tangent because I really want us to play at Arc Tangent because that's our vibe. Because I went there last year and it blew my mind.
That's a
We're
good,
also.
good ambition.
uh,
Were you going to say something, Jesse?
Yeah, like we were. I've mentioned it a few times to the guys. We've not properly got around to organising it yet or anything like that. It's more kind of like just on the backboard at the moment because this tour takes priority, recording the album and everything like that. But we are wanting, and we have spoken about organising another tour, hopefully in the second half of this year. Fingers crossed. If things go well, but it would be out. It would go further than England. It'd be Scotland and Wales as well.
Cool.
Kind of like starting at the top, coming down, and then coming around and ending in our hometown.
Nice.
And Ireland, I think we should do separate. Ireland separate because doing all that and then adding those days. I don't know. But we could do it all thingy, but
Yeah, you can make
it's
down
just
to
organising.
Southampton, then back to Cardiff, and yeah.
Something like that.
Something.
It's not set in stone.
It's not. It's just an idea that we've got going at the moment.
Ideas.
We ain't really pro Ireland then. We'll do Ireland another time. Why? Include Ireland. At least in Northern Ireland.
Well, let's get the people to put in the comments where they want you to play, and then you can get some good
Yeah.
ideas from that, then, can't you?
I'll get on the comments and start putting venues in Ireland.
Anyone potentially watching this in Spain?
It'll just be like a grid reference for as far
We can literally drive there.
as you can
Nice.
get in the UK.
Near an active
I
volcano.
just
Yeah.
wondered, do you guys have any kind of want to collaborate with other people in your music? And if you do, is there any kind of like dream collaboration that you have in
He
your
was
mind?
bugging me about this yesterday.
Yeah, I was actually talking to him about this yesterday because we're nerds. Because I went up to his and once a week we play Magic the Gathering all day because we're nerds.
Awesome.
But
There was one that almost happened that I'm still every so often I push to happen. We started doing a collaboration with me and Jesse with but in our capacity as Isle members with a friend of mine who makes chiptune music. I don't know if you're aware of that as a genre.
Oh, is that Holly likes music?
Yeah.
Harley likes music, hell yeah.
Who is quite a big deal in the
Called,
chiptune.
Harley likes music.
Yeah, all is one word. Highly recommend it. Look it up.
He uses Game Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets two Game Boys and makes music.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome.
They wire two Game Boys together and then makes them make horrendously heavy like electronica.
Yeah.
And it's really good. Great live as well. Highly recommend. But yeah, we started doing that.
When we were in our old band, didn't we?
Yeah,
It was stage with them at one point.
We did 2 tracks with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to do vocals on a chip tune as well. That was good.
I've actually been his tour manager before when he went and played some gigs in Japan. But obviously being tour manager for a chiptune musician is a joke job because you can carry the entire stage setup in your pockets. Literally, it's like 1 2-channel mixer and 2 Game Boys and like 2 cables. That's the entire touring rig. So it'd just be like, my job was to turn up to the venue and be like, There you go. And that got me to Japan. I was like, yes.
I'd love to see that happen.
It's a dirty job.
So you're going to be playing in London at the Fighting Cocks on the 29th of March. What if is there one thing that you hope people can take away from experiencing your music live?
Oh, that's good. I've got an answer for that. Not knowing how to describe us.
Yeah,
I
no,
like to think people would have as much difficulty as we do.
Yeah.
Trying to describe what our style is.
yeah,
Also like it, obviously.
like it, but
We
not
don't want
quite.
anyone going away going, what the fuck?
But one thing that we really tend to is because in the first album that we released, the sound has progressed since then. Originally, we were still heavy, but we were really, really proggy. However, as time has gone on, we have still kept that progginess, but we've moved it to where it is in the song. It's no longer like uber super complex like guitar rhythms and stuff like that. We've moved the prog essence into the structure of the song instead.
Cool.
Because obviously when you're just pure prog, it's a little bit like it's a Marmite genre. Like people either love it or they hate it.
Yeah, it's not like classic 70s prog, like
Yeah.
solos and stuff. We basically have.
We have no solos.
I don't know about no solos, but
should have some.
they're very kind of minimalist.
Yeah.
And there is certainly like a minimalist element to the sound that we do. Like a lot of it is kind of texture based, and that's the sort of post
Layers on layers.
kind of coming through. But then every so often we'll just be like, yeah, but we're going to do this riff in 7 for no reason.
Yeah.
And that's just because like we've all got like ADHD to some extent. I like before we had the name Thall, I used to just call it ADHD metal. The idea being that it's like if you've been playing something for more than 10 seconds, you're bored.
Yeah. No, we like to play with like the sound. Because like you could have a song that starts off like one of the songs on the album, Unsatiated, starts with like what seems like a really proggy bass intro, and then it just gets progressively heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And then halfway through the song, it just kind of like drifts off into this beautiful kind of like serene sound, and then just goes into this massive post-metal atmosphere at the end.
Yeah. And that's what we want people to take away from our gigs. Yeah, apparently that was the answer.
Yeah.
We're just talking about our music.
I did get someone say to me, they came to watch us. It's a friend of mine I've not seen in a while, and he said that he thought that we sounded like if Radiohead covered ISIS the band.
Wow.
Which I thought was a bit of a mad crossover.
Wow.
It doesn't make sense.
That sounds awesome. Oh, this sounds really exciting. I'm really excited. Yeah. I mean, everyone in London needs to come to this show because this is not something you're going to see every week.
I mean, if you want us there every week,
Well, come.
we'll come. We will come. Please, we need gigs.
There's enough venues. There's enough venues. So.
Hell yeah.
London's so big that you probably could get away with a couple of shows in 1 month, going one end to the other.
It's all around London.
Yeah.
Slowly spiraling in from the outside.
I've known bands to play 2 shows in one night, which is hilarious.
You said you wanted to do that.
There was-
Ireland.
So some friends of ours are in another like local band, and they're like notorious for doing stuff like that. And there's this festival that happens in Sheffield. That's kind of I don't know. I won't get into that because that's almost political. But it's a thing still. And basically, like loads of all the venues in the city all put gigs on over this one weekend. It's a whole thing. And they 1 year when it was kind of at its height, they managed to play 7 gigs in one weekend in Sheffield. It was like 2 on the first day, 3 on the second, and then another 2 on the third day.
Mental.
Like,
Why can't we say what it is? It's not political, is it?
no, well, I was going to get into the whole like, it's upsetting what's happened to it now, but I was like, this is not the time.
All right, it's a festival called Tramp. That's what we're on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And it moved out of the city centre, and a lot of people are upset. It got taken over by private business instead of being run like as a non-profit.
I didn't know anything about
It's a whole thing.
I thought people would enjoy it.
Google it if you give a shit, but if you don't
Yeah.
sue me.
The thing is, The thing with
What?
music is there's so much emotion attached to it but then there's also the business attachment, and the business has no emotion, and emotion has no business really. So
Well, Tramlines used to be independent. It was like lots. It's like a big citywide festival within the city centre of Sheffield, and it was basically non-profit. It was like loads of venues opening the doors to bands.
Yeah, it was all
one week.
Like you could walk down the street and you
Yeah.
could in one venue you could have like an indie pop band, and then right next to them you could have like a deathcore band, and the next band some kind of hip hop group.
It was
Like, it was
amazing.
so good,
It
so
was amazing.
good.
But then, yeah, as Nat said, it kind of some kind of corporate entity took it over, and it's all in a park where you've got to pay. You've got to sell your house to afford a ticket. But they do have like
reasonably cheap, to be fair. But they do annoying stuff. Like if once you go into the park, you can't leave and come back on the same day, so you can't go to any of the.
but the fees.
Yeah, so it's like they sort of trap you in there and make their money. Which
There is like fringe events around it still, which I think most people have to go to.
yeah,
But yeah.
I'd encourage everyone to stick to those sort of things. I bet you the atmosphere is going to be better. It's going to be more intimate, and you're just going to get more out of it that way, I think. So
Yeah, I mean, one good thing that did come out of Tramlines actually was another group similar to, we were talking about Heel Turn earlier. Another group called Holy Spider started a thing called Doomlines, which is what it says on the thing, that ran at around the same time. So while you've got Tramlines going on, they did like a Doom Fringe event for like Doom metal bands.
brilliant.
It was really
they've been forced out of Sheffield now.
Yeah, which
They weren't allowed to hold an event that referenced tramlines in Sheffield at
Yeah.
the same time because they were threatened with legal action.
Yeah.
Because that's rock and roll. So they've moved it all to Rotherham now.
yeah.
Or they did, but now that venue's shut. So I don't know what they're going to do next year.
No.
But they'll do something, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Metal to the Masses is going on.
Yeah, Metal Masses are still killing it though.
Well, that's why these initiatives are important as well, because there are so many venues closing down across the country, and it's really sad when that happens. And it could be avoided if everyone just paid a little bit more attention to the underground. I think there's a lot of attention on the mainstream, and the mainstream gets a lot of money, and it's very glamorous and all that, but these bands that were in the mainstream, they came from the underground mostly. So without that underground, where are we gonna have the future acts coming from?
I've been to plenty of gigs and festivals and stuff like that, where it's been like mainstream bands, and then there's been ones where it's just underground bands. And although I've enjoyed both of them equally, the reception, the audience, and the connection between the performer and the audience is very different. It feels way more intimate and way more closer connected on a underground level than it does on a mainstream level. Now, not gonna lie, like if Isle somehow made it into did really well and were able to do this as a living and stuff like that, I'm not gonna say no. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking great. But
bills to pay.
yeah, bills to pitch. But obviously, I think as a group we would agree, and I feel like most big, well-known established bands would have probably tried this as well. That I think we would still want to try and be as close to our fan base and the audience as much as possible. Between songs, we like to talk to the audience. When it comes to all the online stuff, I'm basically in charge of all of the online and social media aspect. And when people send photos, tags and stuff like that, I always make sure that we react, message in the comments and stuff like that. So we're always talking to them and stuff like that. So they feel that we're not ignoring them. Because we don't want to, because they're the reason why we're doing what we're doing.
We don't want it to look like we're.
Yeah, we don't want it to look like it.
I think one of the problems, you were saying about, what you were saying before about the scene, and I do think that one of the issues you have is if you go to a heavy metal club night, maybe not even 5% of those people actually go to gigs, and that always makes me sad because I'm the old fart in the band, if you can't tell by my gravy. But when I was a lad, when I was during the war, when I was younger, it's like you'd go out and there'd be 200 people out go to watch a band who they've never even heard of, and now you're lucky if you get 30. And and I'm not knocking people. Don't get me wrong. People like what they like.
Of course.
It's still. I mean, I'm glad that people still listen to metal. I just wish more of them went out to gigs. Do you know what I mean? It's a shame that not as many do, because that's what in a world where everything is now live streaming, and you've got companies that are paying bands 0.0001% of a penny for every play or whatever it is. We need more people to come and see us, to actually, like, I don't just mean us, I mean like everyone,
Yeah.
to come and see us, and there's just
Also,
there's just not enough.
We just
They-
need
they- they
people to
don't-
understand how good these underground shows are, though. I mean,
Yeah,
they're happy to
exactly.
dish money out for a mainstream show, and that's great. And I'm really happy that they do that, because that's part of
Yeah.
what we're all aiming for as musicians, like Jesse said. But there is also the underground shows that are just, equally as amazing, so much cheaper, and just by attending and buying that ticket, you have helped way more than you could imagine.
That's exactly what I was going to lead on to, and also give like another shout out to Heel Turn, because what they've done for the Sheffield scene, because the Sheffield scene was dwindling quite a lot.
Yeah, they basically resurrected it.
Not many people were coming out to gigs anymore, and then Heel Turn just resurrected it, and they've took over the Sheffield event and metal to the masses, and also they put a lot of other stuff on as well, and they've boosted like the amount of people that come out. But it's still, I just think it's not enough, and that's, I don't mean that on Heel Turn. I mean like nationwide. It's just not enough.
When it comes to the money thing as well, something that we like to do, that we drill into ourselves, is when it comes to stuff like merch, is like, now making merch as a band can be expensive. It can be really fucking expensive. We've got like a whole fucking, from the floor to the ceiling over in the corner, boxes of merch that's going to be coming with us on the tour. But however, like, for example, the hoodies, the physical cost of making each hoodie, because we wanted a good quality hoodie, I think it was like each hoodie to physically make was like 30 quid. And most, like, I get why a lot of bands do this. So they're like, okay, that's 30, we need to make a hell of a profit and stuff like that, so we're going to sell them for like 40, 50, 60 quid. I get that, but something that we do is we don't do that. Is we're not really here right now is to make money. We know we're going to lose money. We absolutely know that. So instead of selling for like 40, 50, 60 quid, because they cost 30 to make, we're only selling them for 35. So we're not even making a massive profit, because the main reason for us is actually just to get our merch out there.
Yeah.
And if people like us, I'd rather someone wear it at a cheaper price and be happy that they've got it than have to buy it and not be able to afford bus fare or whatever for the next few weeks or something. You know what I mean? I think that's something that helps us a lot, because a lot of people are like, oh, your merch is quite cheap. Like, yeah, because, we don't want to rob you. We want our merch out there. We want to reach as many people as we physically can.
I'm not going to charge more for a t-shirt than I'd be willing to pay for one.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be willing to pay for that much, so why am I going to make you pay for that much?
Yeah, and I think also, the ticket prices, I mean, sometimes you will go to these shows and they'll be completely free. And, just buying that merch, it almost equals like way less than you would pay for a ticket anyway for a show that of that kind of caliber. You might not have necessarily expected it to be that caliber if you don't know the band or anything, but if you were to experience that and you buy that t-shirt, that's really helped that band. And essentially, you've got like a 2-for-1 sort of deal going there, where you got your ticket and your t-shirt for free. As part of the same thing. And yeah, I think that's another thing that I'd love to sort of like remind people that go to these shows is we're not trying to fleece you of your money, but at the same time, no one wants to lose money either. And
this is something I often say to people when it comes to going out to shows and buying, is I'm not going to name any venues. Obviously, I don't want to get sued, but like, there are, let's just say, very large venues that put on metal shows and other stuff, and a wide variety of stuff. But they take a % of your merch, as well as your tickets, as well as everything else. So if you want to sell your merch in that venue, they'll take, like, if you're selling it for, say, 15 quid, they might take a fiver of it, or whatever it is, something like that.
Yeah.
So, don't just go to O2 to watch bands, go to the little tiny venues as well, and watch all the smaller ones.
You're not going to name any of those bigger venues, mate, are you?
No.
I really wonder where that comes from. Where did they decide, you know what, we're going to take a little bit of the merch as well? Is this a symptom of the times? Is it like, that hard on them that, £14 beers isn't making them enough money, and, also take some merch as well.
Tell you one venue that was great for what they did. I absolutely love it. What they did was, I think it was it Duffy's Bar or something like that?
Leicester.
I think it was Duffy's Bar in Leicester,
Which we're playing
again. I think it was them. I could be wrong. You'll have to correct me. Is we got there and all ready for the bands, ready. They had like a bag filled with waters and beers. And then not only that is they took a little bit of the ticket prices that everyone bought on the door. They bought all the bands after that some pizzas to sit and eat after because everyone would have been hungry. And then all the remaining money just got split equally between the bands. And they didn't take any of your merch money. That was all yours as well and stuff like that. It was just so good. It was so nice.
That's awesome.
Loved it. Venues need to be more like that.
What's a good venue?
Give us
Great.
shit, please.
More good
Yeah,
venues and promoters as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's been a really awesome conversation, guys, and I really wish that we could talk all night, but we're gonna have to call it a night there. But do you have a message for London ahead of your show? You're coming down on March 29th at the Fighting Cocks in Kingston. Lyle, what have you got to say?
Just bring as much energy as you can.
Oh yeah, we
might be posty, but it's post metal with mosh pits.
Yeah, it's post metal. You can beat the shit out of each other too.
So
So bring your knuckle dusters. Bring them shorts that don't get swinging.
Don't bring
Don't bring knuckle dusters. Get ready to get moving.
We're not a pro weapons band.
No, but get ready to get fucking.
I have to say that.
Get ready to get moving.
Well, UK Death Dealers has some friends in security, so they'll be there, and please don't bring knuckle dusters.
Yeah, please don't actually. I don't know why I said that. Don't. Ignore me. I forgot what that
I've got to say that for YouTube, you know. Awesome! I can't wait to meet you guys in person. So yeah, thank you so much for tonight, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, I have been the Brutal Commander. You have been Isle. Thank you much. Thank you, everyone, and see you on March 29th.
Cool. Thanks. Nice.
Awesome. See you, everyone.
My